You're listening to the Marketing Attractions Podcast. Conversations on how nonprofit attractions are increasing attendance and sharing their missions through marketing. Your hosts are Ryan Dick and Jenny Williams of Attend Media.
Jenny, today's topic, how events drive visitation. And we got a special guest, Jack Stevenson. He's the corporate producer of festivals and events at Cedar Fair Entertainment. Jack, thanks for joining the show.
Thank you for having me.
Jenny, I know you and Jack go back in the day, but why are we bringing in a kind of a for-profit guy into our nonprofit attraction show? What's Jack going to talk about?
Well, I think Jack's going to be able to share a lot of really great information about how attractions can make money, right? So it's something that whether you're for-profit or nonprofit, I think it's still important to drive revenue so that you can spread a mission. And Jack is kind of the king of being able to figure out all kinds of different ways to be able to do that. Jack and I had the pleasure of working together back in the Dollywood days and learned so much from him and his team. It was really kind of my introduction to working with attractions. So super excited to have Jack today. And Jack, why don't you go ahead and give everybody a quick little intro and background about yourself?
Well, thanks for that intro, Jenny and Ryan. Thank you for having me on today. Been looking forward to this. A little bit about myself. Currently, I am, as you mentioned, I'm over at the Cedar Fair Entertainment Company. Work out of the corporate office in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I am the corporate producer for our festivals and events that currently that oversees initiatives for 11 theme parks across North America. And so with this current position, I have the opportunity to work with our corporate leadership team as well as park leadership teams to identify events and potential events based off of the market and the parks and what's going to really help resonate and drive attendance revenue to these different parks. And so across the course of the year, our team here working in conjunction with the parks, we'll produce over 50 events across the platform. So it's a lot of fun, a lot of work, but yeah, so that's what we're doing right now. And as Jenny mentioned, back we had the opportunity to work together at Dollywood on the account. Gosh, Jenny, I think it's coming up on 10 years. Can you believe it? But sort of segue what I did up until now. I've had experience both at Dollywood. At Carowinds theme park, which is one of our parks right down the street here in Charlotte, Merlin Entertainments, where I was primarily in marketing. So I've served as marketing managers, marketing directors for a plethora of different attractions with a very focused on the consumer demand portion. So as we talk about, that gets us into the ticketing initiatives and the promotions. Jenny, working with her with advertising. So it's been it's kind of that consumer facing platform that I have traditionally worked with for the last 15 years or so.
Okay, I did some math here. 50 events across 11 parks. That'll keep you busy.
That it certainly does, and it's and even now it's the fun part about this is we're working on this year right now, getting everything ready to head out the door, but are also conceptualizing new things for the next couple of years. So there's always definitely something to work on.
What a great segue to my first question here. So, what does the process look like for creating and promoting like a brand new event, maybe as opposed to a reoccurring event? Like, kind of talk about that ideation of creating something new.
Yeah, absolutely. So it really goes back to when conceptualizing is really defining their purpose. We're really first asking the question. What is it that what's the I guess the problem? What is the opportunity, and what does incorporating an event, what are we looking to achieve with that? And so for really, it's based off looking at that strategy, working very closely with our executive leadership here at Cedar Fair, working with our brand marketing team to determine with each of these parks that live within these markets, what is the opportunity and what are we trying to achieve. And as soon as we establish that, that sort of kind of lends into our world, my team's world, where we can we start recommending potential content. What are the things that when we make these events, what are those things that will resonate with the markets? And so again, working with our brand team, our marketing teams, looking at consumer insights and data that we've collected over the course of some time. We start to kind of get a little bit of a baseline. Okay, so what could this potentially be? And then bringing over into our initial chats with getting some sort of an identity around this around the event. There, how we do events here at Cedar Fair kind of are a little bit twofold. I mean, there are those one individual what I call park branded events. For example, in the past at Carowinds, we launched an event a couple of years ago called the State Line Festival. So that was very specific to Carowinds. And then there is our pillar events that we run across the park. So that's where you comes into your Halloween haunts, your Winterfest during holiday time. Grand Carnival that we've done now for several years across the platform. So really identifying the identity from there, we will sit down with our marketing teams. Normally these events will have a food and beverage culinary component. So we'll bring in our corporate leadership there. We'll start talking about design. So, okay, so what does this event, what we need to come up with a name. We need to come up from the name. We need to come up with a logo. We need to come up with a color palette and start building what the event is and the concept. So we come up with the concept deck. We start working with the parks. We develop the footprint, all those little nuances that will sort of be able to bring the event to life on paper. And then we start rolling it out to our parks, and so that process takes sometimes that takes place months and months and months before the local park teams even announce it to the public. So we'll start having calls with the parks general managers, the park marketing teams, the park food and beverage team, park live entertainment, keeping everybody integrated and sort of all together as we start piecemealing the project together. So, and a lot of times from a live entertainment side, we contract out directors, choreographers. If there needs to be music created, that's during that time frame where this happens. And so really, where it gets sort of our major milestone is that official go to market announcement with to the general public. And then from there, we'll start to go into a more of an execution mode. That's where you start seeing the marketing, the promotions, and then things start to come alive at the park site. That leads you all the way up to event opening.
So one reason why a lot of events might not be happening is just because it's so hard when we think about cultural attractions and having to invest the time, the money, and the energy.
It really is. And so, I mean, it just, and being on the marketing side for so long and then coming to this particular spot now, there's a lots of details that start taking place way, like I mentioned, way back, and for time's sake, and we're trying to get it further ahead as we can. Ideally, aspirationally, we want to be about 2 years ahead here at the corporate level. Right now we're not quite there, but we're a lot further along in the lead time than we have been in the past. And so It's been a great journey with our team to sort of figuring out that process and getting identifying our key stakeholders and really make out that timeline, that plan, and check-ins, and just ensuring that deliverables are starting to piecemeal together as we move towards that desired date.
I can just hear our audience going, "Oh man, I wish we had a Jack on our team." Like 2 years sounds like, and admittedly you're saying like it's not quite reality, but like you just got to think about the lift, what it takes for an organization like y'all, thinking about our world, the local zoo, there's just the resources aren't as plentiful.
Right. And then there's things outside of our control, even on our level, is, if half the parks they get whacked with bad weather for several weeks at a time, which has happened before. There's adjustments made in how we approach our expense, our OpEx. So and that can affect our content. So being able to make those adjustments, it's very, honestly, transparently, is very rare that what exactly comes out in the concept deck, what translate to what we actually do on the park. But that's part of the fun, right? So, as we continue to adjust along the way, it definitely takes a team. But really just, it's not necessarily a team of numbers. It's just a team of individuals who are quite passionate about the why we're doing what we're doing, what sort of result that these events produce for these parks and ultimately for the company and our guests. So we have it's a small, like I said, it's truly a small but mighty team, but it just takes the folks who want to being able to take the time, get into the same room and ideate. And that's really kind of where it starts, and then we start piecemealing the puzzle together, and something is going out in the midway. So, and then of course, once we open a brand new event, we take guest feedback, certainly, and the data, and we optimize, if we can along the way. So there may be one opening weekend, you may see a stage located in one spot, but we didn't think about where that sun's going to be at 4:00 in the afternoon and on July, and it's beating down on our guests. So the next weekend, you might see that same stage moved, slightly altered. So we continue. Just because we put an event out there doesn't necessarily mean that it's there. That there are always room for we seek, desire improvement, and continue to make everything the best that we possibly can, even throughout our run.
All right. So, my question is why? Why would, an attraction go through all that effort to create an event? Like, are there kind of KPIs or measurables that you're looking for to say, hey, this was absolutely worth it? Our audience.
Sure, absolutely.
They want to spread the mission, right? We want to get new people in. I think it all makes sense, from the marketing nerds like Jenny and I were thinking, okay, we can sell some season passes. We can measure first-time visitors. Like, what kind of things are you all looking at to say this was a success?
Right. Okay. Well, obviously in our world, no secret, it's the financials, it's the attendance. And that even breaks down to even from, what are you trying to achieve from your ticketing goals? Obviously, from an event standpoint, season pass is a huge juggernaut, because with each event provides those pass holders yet another reason to visit that they did not get the time before. And as our data shows, the more times, there's certain times like a pass holder needs to visit, they hit those visit numbers, a certain target, then the likelihood that they're going to renew for the next year jumps up quite significantly. So that's that's a bit of the sort of our approach to as sort of the why these events will produce really positively impacts our season pass program. Also, in unique visitation, maybe there's these niche events. I mean, of course, our primary target is mom with children in the family. What we're seeing though is we roll out our Halloween haunt event, our scary Halloween event, nighttime event, that speaks to a slightly different audience, and we actually have pass holders who purchase season passes for that value proposition just to visit Halloween haunt. So we're being able to capture additional audience off of that. And like I said, even from a one-day perspective, these events provide just the value perception that these events we've started going into. I know we're going to talk about the variable pricing here, but aside from that, especially with e-commerce abilities now, it enables us to take like an event and bundle it with an admission. So maybe we're doing a meal bundle if it's a food event. Maybe there's a tasting card and admission bundle that guests can purchase for a limited amount of time or during this event, and so it really starts driving not only awareness for the event, but it really gives incentive for guests to attend.
So you've got all of these events all throughout the year. And I mean, with you said 11 parks that you're managing or overseeing that for. Talk to us a little bit. I think the kind of hot topic out right now is pricing for all of these events. So we know a lot of attractions are coming out more variable pricing, whether that's a weekend versus a weekday. How are you incorporating that, or are you looking at kind of some unique price points? And does events help you drive maybe a different price point versus general admission, or maybe it's easier to create that kind of different ticketed price versus a general admission on a Saturday and a Monday? You might get complaints from your guests, but how does that work with a special event?
Yeah, so it's really taking we all know at the park level, we know our attendance spread across the course of the year, course of a month, course of a quarter, and really what these events are able us to do. Well, actually, aside from events, what the pricing is able to do is help spread that out. Of course, in our industry, there's no secret that Saturday is the big day. Is because everybody, for most of the country and the world, Saturday is people are off of work, and so that's their ideal day. So for what we're able to what variable pricing has allowed us to do now is by offering a more economical price point to sort of capture some incrementality. Mostly incrementality, some shifting into a weekday or to a Sunday, or maybe even a time frame that does not have historically had the attendance volume that we have the potential to capture. For an example, just take Halloween just to say it's a Halloween haunt. Everybody associates Halloween about mid to late October, where it's because that's on everybody's mind. But there's a slew of our parks and across the industry, and even at other companies as well. Halloween can start as early as September the 12th, right? And so, and for us to be able to incentivize early visitation, it's very customary that you'll see an online web price, significantly, discounted during the early part of September, as you would see. Chances are, trying to get a discounted ticket to a Halloween event on Halloween night or the Saturday before Halloween is going to be pretty tough. But the value, for coming in, seeing some Halloween at a nice price, might be 90 degrees outside, but at least it helps incentivize guests to get in the door. Also, with event pricing, what it allows us to do is to sort of, in our industry, it's I'll say it's an excuse, but not an excuse, is our weather and how it impacts performance. And so with our events, by being able to get out into the market, a couple of weeks before the event, to start getting that excitement. And that's maybe a great opportunity to, go out with a ticket promotion for that event. It helps us fill that funnel, and it commits people to visit before, waiting at the very last minute, checking on weather. So it just really helps fill that purchase funnel for us, for particularly for events, and it gets that message out into the market.
Yeah, we always talk. There's always going to be a group of people who want to come when nobody else is there, right?
Right. That's definitely true, and in what we've been able to see over the course of our years is really that consumer behavior, and being able to just really take advantage of a lot of perceived value by purchasing early, and it's really, you see that across season pass initiatives, across one-day ticket initiatives, and then the online component really just allows us to keep a nice guardrail on that, on what we can do, because it might be you can purchase now, but the ticket's not valid till maybe a couple more weeks, or maybe it is valid now. So what we're able to do with that can really help influence sort of that price point, and sort of give the guest, the most ideal opportunity for their visit.
And then I would imagine that those advanced ticket sales online are also kind of helping you determine staffing for that weekend, right? You've got that super awesome, amazing day in the fall that's sunny and everyone wants to get out, especially in the Northeast.
Right.
It's not cold yet, but just kind of being able to see how many tickets are being sold in advance online to know how to prepare for that as well too.
I love this. I think in our space, there's definitely a spectrum. There are some way more sophisticated attractions that do the value pricing. I love what you said about getting out early. The holiday event, maybe in November it's price A. As we get closer to Christmas, it's price B or price C. But I think a big challenge that our space is seeing, Jenny, is some outfits, the ticketing system isn't quite there yet. It's a little bespoke. There's the walk-up price, and then there's the online price. So I think we're seeing more consolidation in the ticketing system to become more powerful and more flexible, that the for-profit world's been doing for years. But I think that's a nice takeaway for our audience, is here are some of the other benefits of upgrading that ticketing system to be able to have the capabilities to do exactly what you're talking about, Jack.
Absolutely.
You're listening to the Marketing Attractions Podcast, conversations on how nonprofit attractions are increasing attendance and sharing their mission through marketing. Your hosts are Ryan Dick and Jenny Williams of Attend Media. Attend Media is a media planning and buying agency specializing in zoos, aquariums, gardens, and museums. For more information, please visit attend.media. Now, back to Ryan and Jenny.
Well, let's talk about kind of pricing when it comes to messages. So you've got a lot of different promotions that go on, the variable pricing throughout the year. And then also all of these events. Like, is there anything left in messaging for actual brand anymore? Or is really everything event focused, season pass focused, or some other kind of multi-part or multi-day kind of visit or promotional point focus?
Yeah, that's it. So really kind of, the brand is our brand, and that's always going to be on the first, when we're talking about seasonality, and when we're talking about as an event, like, with Carnival, Grand Carnival, which is again our summer, a lot of our summer Mardi Gras-esque event that we've rolled out at several parks, and still continue to do so. It's also incorporated. It is an event, but it's incorporated in what we call our key season, our summer season. So it's about, okay, high level. It's the theme park, the water park, the event. So all these things together sort of makes up, okay, what is our brand? What some parks it's this theme park, water park together, 2 for 1, sort of that that holistic day of fun, and that's really at the end of the day at Cedar Fair, our brand is that we make people happy, and sort of that is when we want people to think about who we are and what we do. I mean, our creative does convey that. Obviously, once when there's events and timeliness, when those moments where we want to drive urgency, that's when you start to see a little bit more of that that promotional messaging come through. Really, and it does a few things for us. It does. You see brand, accomplishes brand. It sort of drives that FOMO. We want to instill a sense of FOMO. So when people see this creative and the messaging, kind of makes them want to, okay, well, I want to be there. I don't want to miss out on this. And then, of course, the timeliness is that sense of urgency. To sort of push, this great value offer, before time runs out. So really, when we think about like how we're communicating and what we're messaging, we take those components and really sort of immerse those together to ensure that we're achieving the urgency, the FOMO, and brand.
Brand is still in everything. It's just always kind of bleed into several other avenues as well.
Right. In our world, I think we still get a lot of, I don't want to, I guess I'll use the word pushback, but the emphasis has always been on spreading the mission, right? Mm-hmm. What is this attraction? What is this institution doing for the local community? Mm-hmm. And I feel Jenny and I are sometimes, Jack, we're on your side where, hey, the event, we need people to come. We can spread our mission once they're in our gates, once they're in our doors. So it's always that kind of that arm wrestle between, we have limited resources. We don't have the unlimited budget to do both at the same time. So where is that balance? And I think that's a continual struggle that we'll be talking about in 10 years.
My direct experience was at Sea Life. I mean, we were, believe it or not, we were a very, very, very small team, and we had a very low paid budget. So that first year, we relied heavily on a lot of earned and organic opportunity. And so by doing that, we would do our own sort of milestones. So like if it's an aquarium, for example, I mean, of course, you had the groundbreaking, but then, you have like we brought the media out quite a bit when we filled the big ocean tank with water. We partnered with the town's fire department, and they ran in a big hose and they shot the water in, and they had the siren. I mean, it was really cool. When when the fish came in, we brought the fish up from, I think it was from Destin or something. So, the whole journey from the first fish that arrived into the aquarium, and then ultimately up to the big day of grand opening. And so by doing that, it really cost us nothing from a media standpoint. Everything that we got was 100% earned for those events. And it was just simply, coming up with some thinking outside of the box, aside from just your traditional, paid media plan approach.
I like that a lot, Jack. I'm actually going to steal that.
Didn't do it. I just had to think about it. I was like,
that's perfect because, okay, so paid media, well, you got to pay for it. It's expensive, right?
Yeah.
We don't have Cheerios budgets.
Right.
So let's use our paid media to focus on our events, our promotion, but really leaning into our earned and in our own media to make sure that is mission-based, spreading that mission let's forget about, hey, we got this super event coming on. We don't need a PR push for that.
Yeah, because that's what captures the human interest in it all. I mean, people are interested. And you'll be surprised. The following when we were, bringing the fish up from Florida. It was happened to be during, it was 2000, it was 10 years ago, 2014, coming up. It was that we had that, I don't know if you guys remember, but it was I remember, it was a really, really bad ice storm down in Atlanta area.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Remember that?
I was there.
Well, our fish were in that traffic.
Oh, no.
Nightmare. Talk about weather delaying everything.
But what it did, because we had to push back our media event for it, I believe, and so as they were, looking into that, the human interest, like, okay, because it was in one of these trucks that it was very, they were like the animals were treated like rock stars. I mean, it had all the life support in there. It was this really nice decked out, their own personal limousine coming up to Charlotte. So, there was a lot of interest. I mean, we were getting hits like out in Washington State, I believe, about, okay, so there's these fish that are on their journey. How are they? They're going to be hitting Atlanta traffic. How are they kept safe? And so it gave us a great opportunity to showcase, what exactly, the care and the initiative that the company and had already thought about, already taken in place. We're able to showcase that just due to that sort of what was very highly news worthy at the moment with the ice and the traffic, but it turned out to be a very nice positive hit for us.
That's lemonade out of lemons right there. That's
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yes, that was an early day. Like just drift right into the deep end. So.
Well, Jenny, I know you had a conversation with Jack, kind of going into some of the media stuff, TV versus no TV. What'd you guys talk about?
Yeah, I mean, well, and I think we're talking about PR here, right? So let's talk about too just what you need to do to be able to actually build those relationships with that local community. And so for cultural attractions, whose primary market typically is obviously their local market, and building those relationships is so important. I think it's hard for a lot to shift away from traditional media, and traditional media outlets like TV and radio provide so much additional support besides just spots and dots. And I've got to imagine for your parks, that's the same. But yeah, talk to us a little bit. You've done some testing where maybe 2020 sort of drove everyone in a slightly different direction. And
what happened then? What do you mean?
It's so long ago now.
No, absolutely. So obviously, we had what we sort of seen here at the theme park world over the course of now the last 5 years. Prior to pandemic, it was a very I would say a well-oiled machine as it was approached to the media. Really, even as digital was coming on, there was still that respectful mix between both the traditional and new digital at the time. And so, Jenny, as you probably remember, how we orchestrated at Dollywood over those years. It was a very standard sort of process. And so after 2020, of course, no secret financial impact across our industry and more. It was okay. So taking that into consideration, as parks were starting to come back on, we needed to talk about it, right? So we kind of took the approach with when our senior leadership, and I know other companies as well, is to gravitate off of that more traditional platforms such as your television, radio, and there was we had I don't want to. I was over here on this team at the time. I don't want to speak so much for brand, but I believe that 100% was all digital at the moment at that time. And so, because when what we saw once that first year back out, when the market was very excited to be able to get outside and do things, we did across our industry. We saw great performance in terms of our season pass sales, our admission, and particularly too during that time period, even a little bit before when we opened our parks, there was restrictions. Do you remember those restrictions? So there were restrictions on attendance. There were restrictions on what guests can and can't do at the park. So we wanted to kind of make sure we strike that balance of, okay, hey, we're open, but hey, we got to keep it modest. And that was a complete paradigm shift in our world, because up until 2020, it was all about get as much people in the gate as you can. So by pulling back on that, it enabled us to sort of level out that modest level of volume that at least until that demand, because we just wasn't sure of what demand was going to be. Now what you're starting to see as we're starting to feel more normal in the new normal, I guess, is we're starting to see a lot of things sort of returning back to those pre-pandemic days, and we're appropriate, and particularly to drive the urgencies with radio, with frequency, with radio visibility, with TV. So there is starting to what I've seen around Charlotte. There's some, there's actually some Carowinds commercials. We're back into the out of home, back into out of home campaigns. I know to drive. We're in season pass campaign right now, so we have that going on. But one thing that going back to that traditional BAM, particularly with radio, is enabling us to re-engage with our media partners again. And so with that, just aside from your traditional buy, one thing I still love and will always love about radio is the relationships that you work with our local radio partners. And so and those are great for the theme park world, because by being able to secure added value. Traditionally, our partners have always come to come to bat for us, help supplement, dark periods. Jenny would know this. Dark periods in, a schedule can supplement that either with spots, or it can help provide value to one of our events. So that's one thing, and really, working on those added value things for your relationships is really just the cost of our relationship, right? So it's stuff that it's very low cost to us, and from an out of pocket perspective, and really helps amplify our voice.
Yeah, it all works together, right? Yeah. So you can't get that type of same value with the streaming platforms that are out on both TV or radio, but they're an important part of a plan too, right? So yeah, it's good to see. I think a lot of people think that the big guys are all digital, and it's not quite true yet.
Right. No, right. And particularly now, one thing we're also seeing aside from just like media added value is going back to those partnerships, the local partnerships, whether we're partnering, with a local fast food restaurant for like a McDonald's, for example, is, I know we are in the digital age now, and the ticketing is it's on our e-commerce. So, back in the day, you would go to your local McDonald's, pick up your Carowinds coupon and come in, and while, e-commerce has taken the fair majority of that, but what it still allows us to do is, like, when you partner with somebody like a McDonald's, it helps for one spread. I mean, it's that reach, right? It's the visibility. It's people going in to get Happy Meals, and they're, and they're seeing your brand. It gives us then to even latch on to, co-op partnerships. There's the Ronald McDonald House that we could make those connections with. So, and again, and when we have like even those larger QSRs, it's really just the price of some POS, and pay for the coupon, pay for the whether it's a yard sign or a window clean. And, normally there's co-op opportunities even with the media. Traditionally, even, we've tagged, we've been able to tag, the partner on our media and us on their media. So just a vast array of opportunity that you can achieve through partnerships that would be very little out-of-pocket cost to the organization.
Yeah, that's something I think everyone can really benefit from, no matter the size, right? So if it's, especially if it's cost effective to do something like that, it makes it all more worth it.
All right, Jack. So put your nonprofit marketing hat on.
Okay.
What do you think nonprofit attractions should be doing more or less of in their marketing?
Mm-hmm. I just kind of going back to the last discussion, the value of partnerships. I mean, especially from a nonprofit perspective, there are people out wanting to work with you. At least I know, from me coming from a profit organization, when we have those opportunities before, I mean, we've worked with a plethora of organizations around the Charlotte market, at Dollywood, and whether it's a Sevierville or an Knoxville market, is being able to latch on to those initiatives is the co-op opportunities can really help magnify your voice, expand your reach, and then looking at even finding ways that through these partnerships where is the incremental opportunity there? Whether maybe it is testing out a ticket promotion, and it maybe it doesn't have to be like a grand McDonald's. It could be it could be a local partner, something that is very sort of kind of tied into to the local market, just to get things started. And then as the first year process kind of goes through, is just kind of adjust and as you go. And then from an in-venue perspective, finding those unique outside of the box opportunities that could drive incremental dollars inside your venue. Whether that is some sort of an upsell, or maybe it's if you can execute a dining plan, or or maybe it is a ticket bundle. Looking at different initiatives, maybe it's going to events. Maybe it's for mom and dad, maybe it's a beer weekend, where you partner with several of your local beers, and maybe there's a ticket or a dollar bounce back on an admission ticket. So find an organization, a partner with another organization. So every ticket sold for this, you can get this inside the park, but every dollar you sell, we're going to send it back to the organization. And then, hey, you got a PR event that you can schedule in a couple of weeks, with the big check and everything. So, it's so we could talk about this, way on end. It's just to keep it up. Don't give up on things too quickly. Things like partnerships and all, it takes time. I mean, I was at Carowinds. I was even at Carowinds prior to going to Dollywood, Jenny. And so it was still, when I got back, I was still, there was a lot of instances where I went right back to those partners, and we're picking up and still continuing to develop and improve as we're going, just until we kind of crack that nut. So partnerships, outside the box opportunities, that what's going to appeal, what can you do that the other person's not doing? And I was going to say, what's something that, you guys can do that maybe the bigger, the for-profits aren't doing, what makes you different, and just latch on to that will certainly help.
Jack Stevenson from Cedar Fair Entertainment, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Marketing Attractions Podcast. If you have a suggestion for a topic or would like to be a guest on the show, please visit our website at marketingattractionspodcast.com.